Hey all, I think we're now live. So welcome to the weekly Vega Fairground or Testnet Jam. My name is Daigan. I'm a community manager over at Vega, and you probably recognize me from here and there on all the different social channels and the Vega ecosystem. This is an ongoing series. It takes place every Thursday at 6 p.m. UTC+1 or British summertime. Each week we take a deep dive into a different aspect of the Vega Pro School with a member of the Vega team or a special guest. And then we follow up with an open Zoom room so that any keen attendees may have a chat with the team and follow up with some of the themes covered. This week we have a nice return guest and all-star member, smart contract engineer Emil. Today, Emil and I will be talking about his involvement in creating the smart contracts that power token.vega.xyz. And we'll also cover some updates on his current projects and his hopes for the future of Vega. As always, some quick housekeeping before we begin. Whilst Emil is presenting, you're free to ask questions in the Zoom chat, in the Twitch chat, and he will answer those questions at the end of the call. And then about 5 minutes before we end the session, I'll post the Zoom link for the Twitch Zoom chat in the Twitch chat. So I'll post the Zoom link in the Twitch chat. And we encourage you all to come along if you feel like coming. So without further ado, let's begin. Emil, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes. So my name is Emil Bay. And like Daigan said, I guess what I do mostly at Vega at the moment is smart contract development for the Ethereum blockchain. Working on some of the projects we have there for integrating with Vega and distributing rewards and that kind of stuff. And I'm Danish. I live in Copenhagen, and I've also lived in Australia in the past. So I guess that's an introduction to who I am, and then I guess we'll cover more in questions to come.
Great stuff. Great to have you with us. I'm curious about Australia. I didn't know that about you, but very cool that you've been around the world. I don't know if that's covered in the next question, because the next question is going to be, what did you do before working at Vega and for how long?
Yeah.
Maybe Australia you can cover in there, and if not, tell us.
Yeah. So what did I do before Vega? I've done a lot of things. I'm one of those. Like I started programming when I was a kid, and then quickly figured out that it wasn't just a nice hobby, but you could also make a living of programming. So started freelancing when I was very young, and then that was programming in Flash and PHP and that kind of stuff, websites. And then I've done a whole bunch of things over the years. I went to university to study math, but was only there for like 3 semesters, and then I dropped out and got a job at an advertisement agency. And then after working at an advertisement agency, I worked as a data journalist, and then I did some TV shows, and then I worked as a security consultant, and then went on to have a stint of just only doing open source work for about, I think, a year, where I just only did open source work, and that was mostly JavaScript. So I have a lot of modules on npm for doing various things in cryptography and regarding security. And then the most recent thing I did before I joined Vega was I had a company where we were trying to build like an enterprise wallet. So it's a problem called custody. We were building peer-to-peer systems, and on this, like, it was bootstrapped. So we work with a bunch of different companies to fund the company itself. So we work with Bitfinex was a return client, and we also work with Filecoin, and we work with Samsung and companies like that, all on peer-to-peer and decentralized technology.
Well, you've really been around. You've done a bit of everything. That's quite a rich history of work there, and it's quite fascinating to hear all the different things you ended up doing. At what point did Australia come into that? Was that because you wanted to change locations, or the job offer was there and you had to go there?
No, that's way back. That was after during high school. I was just in Australia as an exchange student, living there for a year, and then then later on, I got the opportunity to go back for half a year on a exchange semester to the exact same city. I lived in Adelaide, of all places, like in a small rural town just outside Adelaide. But I guess in Australia, just outside. I think it was like 2.5 hours from Adelaide, but that's just outside the city.
Sweet. Some of our other team members have like quite a few friends over in Australia. I've never been myself, but I would love to go one day.
Yeah.
I really needed to go visit the other side of the world, and Australia's as far as you get, so it's really what's kept me away. But enough on Australia. I think I'm talking about it too much, I think. But it was cool that you were programming since you were quite young, and then some of the stuff you went into advertising, a few other things. It's what initially got you into the whole programming side of things. You said you were just having fun with it and you thought it was entertaining, but what about it drew you to that? What drew you to it?
I don't know. Actually, I've thought a lot about it, but I don't have any family members that have ever gone to. I think most of them are high school dropouts. So I didn't have anyone who'd gone to university, and then I just found a book on programming, and I thought I could make computer games in a week. Very naive view of things. And then it didn't take long until I didn't really care about computer games anymore, because thinking about it now, I guess programming became the computer game. And what keeps dragging you back into for a lot of programmers, I think, is that thrill of solving a problem that's been so, that's just really been nagging at you for a long time. And then also for me, programming is a lot about understanding the truth behind, like, it sounds very philosophical, but like the truth behind something. So at least to me, I'm never satisfied until I fully understand how something works, or why it's a good idea to do things that way, not just programming technique wise, but what's really going on, what is really about. And that's also what most of my work with Ethereum now is, that I'm really trying to, like, I really enjoy writing low level EVM bytecode, because that's the lowest level we get there with Ethereum, because then you really get to see what's going on. Of course, that's not always doable. You have to work in something like maybe Solidity, because that's the lingua franca. That's the language that other people can understand and that you can use to communicate your ideas regarding smart contract programming. But if it was up to me, then I would just be, writing an EVM bytecode, because they actually get to see what's going on inside in this case, the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, that's quite cool. And what would you say initially got you into Ethereum programming coding? Is it the previous startup obviously was a wallet and custody solution? But before that, why make the jump?
I'm actually one of those. So I think I started doing. I think I went to university to study math, and that was when machine learning was just becoming a word. That suddenly it wasn't just statistics anymore; it was machine learning, and I was very, very excited about machine learning and artificial intelligence. But then when I was at university, I got really dismayed by the whole AI craze, especially because it's an inexact science. No one can ever really explain to you why things work exactly as they do, but you can give guiding thoughts on or overarching ideas, or guidelines for why things work the way they do. So I got fed up with that, and then I went into cryptography, which is exactly the opposite thing. It's a extremely exact science with some black magic in there when it comes to like things that are hard to explain. Why do we do it this way? But at least it's a very exact science. And for a long time, I was also part of the community in cryptography that was saying crypto means cryptography, not cryptocurrency. And I was very, very skeptical about cryptocurrency for a long time. But then through work, I kind of was building cryptographic systems, and then I got Bitfinex as a client, and they wanted to do some cryptography that was outside blockchain. And then slowly, I had to look at what blockchain was really about, because that's what the client did. And then I think I got more excited about the technical opportunities. But I would say, regarding cryptocurrency in general, I'm maybe still a skeptic on the side that I can definitely see the how it democratizes the financial markets. But I'm still not sure if with the environmental impact. I mean, Vega does something different where we use proof of stake, but does that have other effects when you do proof of stake regarding the emergent properties you get from a system like that? So I'd say I was a skeptic for a long time, and then Ethereum, to me, I'm still maybe a skeptic about Ethereum. Will they be able to solve the issues they have at hand? For example, it's extremely expensive to run anything on Ethereum, and I understand why, but that wasn't really the ideal that Ethereum set out to be. And now it seems like, oh, we're just going to solve it with something like layer 2, but I think that's kind of avoiding the problem that's really at hand. So to me, Ethereum is just very exciting because I'm good at doing the low level stuff, where it doesn't seem like this. At least in Ethereum, there's a lot of people who are different. They go into Ethereum with different ideas of what they want to do. So some people just, some people are quantitative financial people. That they, those are the people who invent new DeFi systems, all that. And then you have people who do, come up with NFT stuff, new ideas for how to generate NFTs and that kind of stuff. But to me, I'm all about like going low level and seeing like, what can I do? Because I go down to the low level part of things that other people might not be able to do. Not that technically I can do other things, but maybe I can make things way cheaper. So it's actually economically feasible to do things that before wouldn't be economically feasible. So that was kind of my long answer to how did I get into Ethereum. I didn't look at Ethereum and say, that's something I want to get into. It just slowly happened. And now I just enjoy the technical side of Ethereum.
Yeah, that was a really, really detailed answer. And it was quite interesting to hear your philosophical takes. Would you say you've become more of a skeptic since, or less of a skeptic, sorry, since EIP 1559 passed? And then now it's like, by the end of this year, they're hoping for sharding with, what's it called, ETH 2.0. And then zero.
I don't know.
There's layer 2 solutions too, and loads of others. There's a few different scaling solutions.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been on the, what do you say? I haven't been looking into all the different layer 2 systems, and I haven't also looked too deeply into what Ethereum 2 will bring to the table. Like, what are the consequences of the technical solutions being proposed, like sharding and that kind of stuff. But I would say something like EIP 1559, like in the blog post and the whole press around it, and that wasn't from the Ethereum Foundation, but just how the people kind of interpreted each other's understanding of the IPs that went into the London fork, that it doesn't really do anything good for the consumer, I say. I mean, also because it's a difficult situation where the designers, or like the core developers, they wanted to, let me start another way. I think something like Bitcoin mining is still motivated by the block reward, where Ethereum mining now is, at least until London, wasn't motivated by so much the block reward as the gas fees you could collect. And we could see how gas fees just kept going higher and higher. And then, you could basically see on the gas fees if there was a new NFT project or DeFi project being launched, and block space was just extremely scarce. And then I think a lot of people got the impression that the London fork was gonna lower gas fees and make things cheaper. But I would actually say it did the opposite. It made it more stable, like it made the gas fees maybe more stable, but it made it also so that the gas fees would, in my mind, never come down to as low a level as they could before, because you have this scaling where the base fee will only lower if the block has been empty enough for a certain amount of time. It's like this dynamic scaling factor, both for the block size, but also what is this base fee the base fee is the gas, or like the rewards that we burn that don't go to miners. So and then what the miners collect is the priority fee on top of the base fee. So a lot of people got the understanding that, this was going to lower the gas fees, and this was going to make everything cheaper for the users of the blockchain. But actually, I think it was more of a way to kind of accustom the miners to the idea that you don't get to collect all the gas fees. Like, you know, they were becoming maybe a bit too powerful, I think. Oh, that's my interpretation of what happened with the London fall.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm still a skeptic. I'm a skeptic.
Cool. Be a skeptic. I mean, we're all skeptics until we see actually like it actually happen, the actual implementation. So we'll see. I mean, ETH 2.0, like for 1559, we've seen that. But that, I think it was a miscommunication, like misconception, and it would lower gas fees. That wasn't the intention.
Yeah, no.
But let's take this away from Ethereum a little bit.
Yeah.
Although actually, we have an audience question. So if someone on Twitch has asked you a question, and he says, $1 million question for Emil. What would be your guess out of all alternative blockchains to Ethereum will be the first to the post of solving the cost problem while being flexible and popular?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's I think it's because the problem is being I think it depends on if it, like the ideal with Ethereum, right, was there was going to be a world computer, which means that any piece of, or like any smart contract anywhere on the chain would be able to talk to any other smart contract anywhere on the chain. So that kind of necessitates that you have one global bulk of, you know, as a system, where if you want to, obviously, so that then, you know, any node that needs to replicate that and verify that needs to have all the data in there, or at least start from a similar snapshot and then apply all the transactions on top. And it grows unbounded, right? They didn't put any design, or they didn't design anything in there that would kind of limit the growth, where I think something like the rent you pay on Solana is a good idea, because there's no on Ethereum, there's no incentive for a smart contract to actually clean up after itself and you know, reduce the size of the chain. So in Solana, I think the idea, I don't know the exact details, I just read like the overarching idea is that if you're holding on to less than a certain amount of SOL, then you actually pay rent for keeping data on the chain. And then once your account goes to 0, then it's deleted. And then you can kind of that way prune the chain so it doesn't go unbounded forever. Kind of like on Ethereum, where you have all these accounts out there that have maybe, you know, have so little ETH in there that is basically dust, but you can't just delete them. You have to keep them around. And then that's kind of the baggage that any node that wants to catch up on the blockchain has to store all of that data that is, you know, in practice never going to be used. So I think that was one good idea they had. I'm not sure how sharding, you know, because then sharding, at least the ideas of sharding that I've seen is, okay, then you kind of have these separate chains that are also from the word sharding only get to communicate within their own shard. And then if you want to communicate outside your shard, then you either have to wait for like a synchronization point, or you know, you have to have oracles talking between the shards or stuff like that. So to make all this stuff scale, I think it's just that the technical capabilities, for example, with smart contract, has to be more nuanced. So that you, for example, with sharding, then it needs to be explicit that, okay, you need to talk across a shard and then you pay more for that. But I think, yeah, it's obviously really, really difficult. That's why I haven't really seen any good solutions. I guess it's also what Avalanche is doing, where they're saying we want to be the, you know, OS for blockchains, in the sense that we give you a couple of chains that are core to us, and then you can apply your own chains on top, and you can put in whatever virtual machine you want, and like, you know, have these chains still be verified by the same consensus algorithm and talk across. If you give the capabilities talk across the chains that you build on top. But yeah, it is just the whole unbounded growth of it makes it impossible to have something like a mobile client, unless you do like on Bitcoin where you have Lightning, but then that comes with its own problem. But having a fully synced blockchain node in a mobile app just doesn't really work with any of the big ones we have today. Then you have to do something like, without having looked exactly how it does it, but like Nano or some of these alternative ideas for what a blockchain could be.
Good answer. You didn't give you didn't give an exact recommendation, but you covered very
No.
succinctly why each one has its own drawbacks and shortcomings. As far as I'm aware, there's quite a few different scaling solutions. Like there's layer twos, there's roll-ups, there's sharding, state channels, which is Lightning Network, and many different ways of doing it. And I think it's too early to see which one is going to win out or how we're going to see things in the long term. So which of the different alternative chains will actually win? Who knows? People are still building, people are still experimenting, at least from my point of view.
I think something like the layer twos. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah. I was just going to say something like the layer twos. The layer twos, it seems, without having looked into the exact details of all the ones that are kind of out there now, then it seems more like a sliding scale of how much centralization or federation can we accept, or like how much you're not giving away trust, but you're giving away, I guess, finalization of your transaction. So like you have that kind of a sliding scale. The one I'm most familiar with is the Lightning network for Bitcoin, because it's one I've worked with. And in the Lightning network, they also have their fair share of problems, not just with you have trust. You need to have a Bitcoin node basically out there helping you out in some way, looking out for if someone is closing your channels, or like if your counterparty is closing channels or whatever, so they don't take away all your money. But then you also have the routing problem of how to get a payment from A to C, and there needs to be an intermediary B in there to be able, if I'm not able to talk to C directly, I need to talk through B. So then you get all these other problems. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're just moving around in the problem space.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't actually.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good. I haven't actually started the interview questions, so
yeah, sorry.
we're gonna go off our favorite chains and back to Vega, or back to the Fairground Jam. But thank you for the questions, and yeah, I'm really fascinated by the whole space. That's why we're all here. We're all really interested in seeing how things evolve, and yeah, it's just fun being along for the ride. We can't make a bet. You can make a bet on which one you think will do the best, but who knows what the answer will be, is how I see it. Anyway, Emil, why did you make the jump to a project as different or uncertain or odd as Vega? What made you think, hey, this is what I want to do?
I actually think compared to some of the stuff that I have done in the past, Vega seems way more like a stable and a company with more predictable future, I think. As in looking in both at Vega from the outside, but also the inside, I thought it had a very promising future. Like there's amazing people working here. So I actually didn't think it was a big bet to go with Vega compared to a lot of the other options that I was looking at before I joined Vega. So I also saying that I joined Vega 2 months ago, I think. I joined Vega in the middle of June. So I haven't been here for that long. So it was pretty recently that I was looking into like where is it that I want to go, and Vega seemed like just the perfect place, really.
Great answer. That we didn't pay him to say that.
Yeah, no.
No, you already had quite a big impact. So I think it's great hire on, like, great to have you as part of the team.
Thanks, yeah.
So in terms of the team, the team, what team would you say you're in? Or are you more of a solo player around Vega? And how do you guys organize yourselves?
Yeah, so I'd say I'm definitely on what has become a smart contracts team. Before I joined, as I understand it, it was we mostly had one single blockchain developer or smart contracts developer, Danny Horn, and then I was number 2, and I don't know if 2 makes a team, but we also sit with what we call the core team, so the Golang developers that are building the Vega protocol or the Vega node software. But now that it's both me and Danny, and then this Monday we had Tari join, also smart contracts. So I think now it's almost a team of smart contracts developers. But given that I'm in Copenhagen and Danny, who's my other teammate, he's in the US, and then now Tari, who's in the UK. Until now, it's been very solo because of time zone differences. But you don't develop the smart contracts in isolation, right? It's not. It's you have to talk to a lot of different people within Vega when we develop the smart contracts, both to figure out what are the business requirements, and there's also the legal side of things and security and all that stuff. So it's very much a team effort in coordinating the whole thing, and communications also, like the whole getting blog posts out and managing expectations with our users. Often because with smart contracts, you want to be absolutely certain that there are no bugs and that people don't lose money by running your contract functionality. So communication is also a big part of that. So it's definitely not a solo thing. Maybe the act of writing the smart contract itself can be a solo effort in the sense that you're writing the contract, but then also testing it, getting it audited and having other people look at it. Very, very much a team effort.
Once again, great answer. And looking forward to the new joiners so we can be even more efficient and pushing out things as quick as possible. It seems like all the teams are expanding quite quickly around Vega. Yeah, I mean, you've only been here a few months and you're like already doing so much. So it's fantastic. So you were doing a lot of work on the LP reward smart contract, which went out earlier this week.
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit more about the project? Difficulties, challenges, what was fun, what was interesting, and anything you want the audience to know?
So it was kind of an idea that came in a little bit late compared to when we wanted to launch it. I can't exactly remember when I got involved in it, but it's something that sounds very, very simple on the surface, but then turns out to be very, very hard to solve code-wise. So the idea is basically, I'm just gonna maybe say what it is, just so everyone has an understanding of what the LP staking contract is. So we wanted to make Vega more widely available for people to buy Vega and hold Vega. And one of those places is, of course, Dexes. We wanted it to be available on SushiSwap. And to make Vega available, we also wanted to incentivize people to provide Vega as liquidity on Sushi. And to also incentivize, so for there to be an incentive for people to provide Vega, we wanted to reward that. So LP staking is a contract where you can take the Sushi liquidity provider tokens that you get for providing, Vega or the whatever the other asset is that it's trading against. You can take those liquidity tokens and you can deposit into our contract, and then every day there's a pool of Vega that is given out as rewards for providing the liquidity, and the longer you hold, the more Vega you will kind of earn up over time. So yeah, that sounds pretty simple, right? You just record whenever someone put in tokens, and then you figure out how long did they keep the tokens in there for, and then you give them rewards. But then you get the complexity from everything being really, really, really expensive to run on Ethereum. So you have to kind of figure out within that design space, how can you make this something that's actually feasible for people to pay the gas fee to run, while also being secure and also just doing what you wanted to do. So the final design ended being centered around this idea of epochs. The whole design was made by Danny. All I did was I came in and solved some bugs and tried to make the contract less risky regarding the logic. Use some techniques from how you develop cryptographic protocols, the way you write cryptographic protocols, software. You have very specific techniques you use to make sure that you don't have bugs. Introduce some of those ideas to make sure the contract, or like that we had a very, very high confidence level that it didn't have bugs. Because what the contract does is that it essentially holds all of people's sushi liquidity provider tokens. And if the contract ever were to lock up and revert, then there's a whole lot of money just being held hostage that we would never be able to get out because of the immutable nature of the blockchain. So that's basically what it is. It was extremely difficult because of this whole idea about things shouldn't be too expensive gas-wise, and it is still fairly costly, I'd say, to do this. It's about I think to stake your tokens cost about 1 or 2 ERC20 transfer transactions. So that's fairly cheap, or that's fairly reasonable on the blockchain. But then when you want to unstake again, depending on how much time has elapsed, it could be up to 1 or 2 Uniswap transactions, which can be fairly expensive depending on what the gas fees are. Yeah, so the design is that you have these epochs. An epoch is a day, and then we reward people for however many days they keep their tokens in there, and there's a shared pool every day of I think is it like 1785 Vega that is shared across all the people who have staked, and then that amount of Vega is shared proportionately between all the stakers. So that was the very long technical description of what it is. But no, it was extremely hard to develop, and that's also why it's been delayed so much. That's because we just thought we had it, and then we kept finding new ways that or new edge cases that hadn't been covered. So that's why we use those techniques from developing cryptographic protocols to make sure that reduce the number of different states this thing could be in, and we had extreme like very high test coverage, and also did a bunch of fuzz testing where you just let the computer do random operations until the thing breaks, and then you go back and you look at, okay, what was the sequence of operations that actually got the contract to break. So yeah, used a lot of advanced techniques to make sure, or like to get a very high confidence level that it wasn't gonna include any bugs.
Thanks again. You really succinctly explained what the LP reward program is and the contract and the problems we had in trying to get it to be robust and secure, as that's always the most important thing when you're developing any smart contract. But it's now working very well, and it's out in the public. And yeah, we didn't want to push it out until it was absolutely ready. So we think it is, and that's thanks to your hard work and Danny's and everyone else's behind the scenes. So thank you guys. So would you say that there's been anything that's been surprisingly easy or anything that's been surprisingly challenging since joining Vega that you didn't expect when you first began, or things that changed around over time that got easier over time and vice versa?
I'd say there's definitely things I've been surprised about while working at Vega, but it's all been I know it's going to sound like, obviously I work here and Vega is my employer, but I'm honest when I say I've only been positively surprised by how Vega operates, both externally and internally. Feels like everyone at Vega has like extremely high level of integrity and care about their work. And also I've usually been working with startups and, other blockchain companies that can be, can be like a headless chicken trying to manage a headless chicken. And then when I joined Vega, what I cared mostly about was what was the work-life balance like, because I was sure the work was going to be exciting, and I could feel the people that I talked to that they knew what they were doing, and then they cared about what they were doing and very good at it. So what I was mostly interested in was Vega going to be like any other early company where you have to work extremely long hours and it's soul crunching, and everyone was just very positive and saying no, people have extremely high respect of each other's time. You manage your own time because you're remote, so as long as you do your job, then everyone is happy. And I kept thinking, yeah, sure, that's what everyone says, but no, it's really been like that since I've been here. And also being a remote, I know there's a lot of remote first companies, but I've seen mostly companies that didn't work very well remote. But at Vega, it just works, I think, because we have some people that ensure that the whole process both of working remotely, but also our software development process and everything around it is extremely smooth. And I think also because we have at least enough people to do the work we set out to do. Of course, we're expanding, but that's because the scope of what we're doing is expanding. But I don't feel like I've been overworked while I've been at Vega. And I feel like people have been very, very respectful of time and having a private life also. So yeah, I only have positive things to say, even though it might sound like, I'm being completely honest, very, very positively surprised.
I'm gonna put that on the job application page. This recording, just the last few minutes. That was a really glowing review. And yeah, I mean, if you go on Discord and Telegram, you might find that we should hire an entire marketing department, apparently. And we could work on many different things. But overall, yeah, I think our approach is slow and steady wins the race. Let's do things right. Let's do them in good time, and then eventually, once it's delivered, it's there, and it works well. So we'll keep with that, and we'll keep expanding over time as we need to start upping our efforts in different areas, and that's what we're doing. So the next question. This is the Fairground Jam. So naturally, I'm going to have to ask you, how are the Fairground incentive rewards coming along? What is the latest update on the people saying when token?
Yeah, so that's the next project that I've been working on. Sorry, just had to pull out. That's the next project I've been working on. I don't wanna give out any dates or time because of there's, like I said, nothing here is a single person or like a solo project. Everything is a team effort. So I can only speak for myself when I say when I think everything I've been doing is done. But I'd say very, very soon. And I know we've been promising for it to be very, very soon for a long time, but the LP staking rewards kind of, took priority, I think, because that was time sensitive. And I know that the Fairground rewards are also time sensitive in the sense that we have a mainnet launch or like a restricted mainnet launch coming up soon. But it's going to be there soon. At least I have a couple of nice things for you then. I know one complaint we had with the previous version we had a previous version being beta tested, I guess, was that it was a bit expensive running or like redeeming the prices, and that's been extremely optimized now, so it's cheaper than a ERC20 transfer. So at least now it's profitable to also redeem smaller amounts of Vega rewards. And I think the best I can say is that it's going to be very, very soon.
Thanks for the update. That was nice. Someone in the comments is laughing at the when Vega meme. But yeah, eventually, and soon, a lot sooner now that LP rewards are out as well. And also, I think a big problem we've always had is like just gas fees. And anything you plan around has to be planned around gas fees and how you're going to optimize for that, because it's just been a bit ridiculous on the Ethereum network recently. And in the future, hopefully we start working with other networks. But right now, this is the first bridge, and the focus is on delivering the main release of Vega. Okay, Emil, it's been great to talk to you about smart contract work. What else, if anything else, do you tend to do at or around Vega?
So yeah, smart contracts has just been the one thing I've been working on at Vega so far, but I'm hoping to go more into working with the core team on the Vega software itself. Especially one of the reasons I also actually did apply this Vega in the first place was because of Wendy, like in our fairness gadget for blockchains. Because that was a problem I've been thinking a lot about myself, was how can we make the whole DeFi space more fair? Because DeFi matches my ideals about, democratizing and decentralizing the financial markets. But it just didn't seem very democratic that miners could decide if they wanted to, basically cheat if they were lucky enough to mine the blocks, but also that the mempools didn't enforce any kind of order in regards to the order they received transactions in. And that's obviously because Ethereum wasn't specifically designed to do financial markets. It was designed as a general purpose computer. So that's something I'm very excited about at Vega and hoping to go more into. I've been doing a little bit of work with the research team. I'm very excited about if we can get out something I think we internally call smart products. So basically smart contract-like functionality for Vega, but for building financial products. That's something I'd be very, very excited about. In the past, I've been doing a lot of WebAssembly. So WebAssembly is also a technology that's been used by a bunch of other blockchains. I think EOS is maybe the biggest one that has been using WebAssembly on their blockchain as the bytecode language. I've been writing a lot of WebAssembly by hand also, so it's very similar to EVM bytecode. Since it's a bytecode, so it's like a low-level language for an idealized machine. And I think B might also go maybe with WebAssembly, or it's very much up in the air because it's something that's way out on the roadmap, but it's something I'll be very excited about as well. Not that we have started working on it. I don't think I'm giving out spoilers here. I think this is something that everyone would like to do, but it's not the biggest priority. There's bigger priorities first.
Well, you heard it here first. That was great. Like, you had there's a lot of things I think you'd like to do, and you'll probably get the opportunity to do down the line. There's just there's so many different things you can get stuck in with. I think it'd even be good just like speaking about Vega at conferences or events or other things, because you have a good way of putting your thoughts together, and
okay, thanks.
Yeah, giving a good concise overview of things. So let's go away from the crypto Vega side of things. Tell us an interesting non-crypto related fact, non-Vega fact about yourself.
When I lived in Australia, I was bitten in the face by a shark. So
nice.
So
okay.
like it totally fits in with the internet meme about everything being out to kill you in Australia, because the year I lived there, I saw giant spiders and deadly snakes. I saw a fire tornado. I saw got bitten in the face by a shark. We had like there was like a big swarm of locusts kind of roaming around as well. So it was almost like being inside Armageddon or something. Just the 1 year I was living there. But yeah, I have a scar down my face, but it healed really nicely. But I have a scar that goes across my face here and then inside my eye. But I guess you maybe can see it's red now that I touched it, but it healed up very nicely. So I guess that's my one non-Vega effect.
That's a great, yeah. You really blew us away with that one. Funnily enough, the first comment we got in the Twitch chat was that someone said you're very handsome. So clearly the scar didn't ruin your face too much. Yeah. Thanks.
I don't think I have pictures. I have pictures from the hospital, but I don't think it would be suitable to show them here on Twitch.
Maybe in a future follow-up session. Okay, that's it for the interview. Is there anything that you would like to ask me? And you don't have to ask me anything.
I don't know. I was thinking about that because you asked me before the interview, like you say, is there something you'd like to? I'd like to ask you. Not sure. Maybe I'd like to see. Maybe we have to switch roles next time, or like one of the future fairgrounds. And
yeah, for sure.
You're the one in the hot seat.
Done one about me. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'm keeping that as an idea for a future one. That works really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I said, I think you'd be good at presenting, speaking, so that'd be cool. Okay, well, that is the end then of the weekly Fairground or Vega Fairground Jam. Thank you, Emil, for coming and giving such thoughtful answers. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for turning up and staying for this long. These happen every single week. So the next one will be at 6 p.m. Same time, the exact same time next week on Thursday. In the meantime, you're around on our different channels, and hopefully we'll have some more releases for you and everything out in the coming week or so, coming weeks. We'll also be hanging around in the Zoom room for about 10 or so minutes after this, as this was slightly longer, so we'll be there until 7. So if you want to join the Zoom room, that's been posted into the Twitch chat, and you can hang out, come and say hi to us there. Otherwise, goodbye all. Thank you, Emil, and until next time.
Thank you for having me. See you in the Zoom room.
Thank you. See you there.